Yo, yo, we're back.
Yo,
Yo, it's time again for another Worker to Worker, episode 13. That's a lucky number, not Friday. Uh, I can't believe 13 of these. I think it's been like two, maybe four. It's been like a few months that since I like started wanting to talk to people, and here we are. It keeps happening. Uh, We're going to be talking about workers waking up. My name is Eric from UFCW Local 8 up here in Northern California, Reading. I work for Safeway. Real quick disclaimer, I do not work for the union. I do not speak on behalf of the UFCW or the company I work for, Safeway. Everything I say is just me talking for myself, and that applies to my guest today. Why don't you introduce everybody to who you are and where you're from? Because this is pretty cool.
yeah, so I'm not from Local 8. I actually found this on the internet basically. I think I was browsing Reddit or YouTube and I was looking for a reform movement. I'm from Local 5 and yeah, I was just blown away. I said this is exactly what we need. I mean, this is exactly what we probably needed before that contract vote, but finding it, now we have time to build, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy because when you said you were from Local 5, it's funny because we in the dark zone of Local 8, we consider you guys basically reformed because of the position that you took at the international convention. But that position, which is, again, is favorable to the workers, like let's be honest about that. You're in better shape than many, but there's something that's not translating all the way down to the shop floor. And that disconnect is a disconnect that I think a lot of workers in a lot of unions, honestly, are feeling. What is that? Is that accurate to your experience?
I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't think we were for like before I even started watching your stuff. I mean, I just assumed most of the USCW worked the same. I mean, now I know that's wrong. Like we have, online voting that's through our phones. Like we all got a text message if our phones were hooked up properly, and we just tapped it, done. I mean, they have a recommended one, but that's it. And then I found out that you have to go in person and you have to go through a gauntlet of reps before you vote, or I'll tell you to vote yes. So I was like, wow. So I guess we are a little better off, but that relation I had is because it's all the same problems. There's very mediocre contracts. The reps all telling you it's the best thing ever every time, and ultimately there's just a strong disconnect between the rank and file workers who all feel one way the contract should be, $3 raise, and the head honchos who are all saying no, this is the best we can get. No, we can't go on strike even though we said we would. No, we won't even do the ULP. And there's just that strong disconnect. People don't want that.
I think, and the people in my store, I mean, first of all, you guys authorized your strike, right? You guys took your strike
Yeah,
vote and
I
you
need
authorized it. We authorized our strike also in Local 8. And I think the amazing thing about that strike authorization, we've talked about it a little bit, was that we had no idea what we were even fighting for. Like, we didn't even know what the wages were going to be. We didn't know what Safeway was offering. We didn't know what our union was counter offering. They hadn't given us any information. They just said, hey, we need you to fight. And we were like, all right, let's go. Like that tells you to me everything you need to know about the militancy that you have like sleeping dormant in your member base. And like you said, they had ULPs that were filed. In all honesty, like they dropped the ball. They didn't file the ULPs that I submitted that were accurate and valid, but they did submit the ULP for the not bargaining in good faith. They could have called a
yeah,
3 day strike. And the thing is that like, and this is something that, there's a new article, newsletter that's going to be coming out from the Essential Workers for Democracy. And I have like an article that I wrote for that. And it's regarding this like Western bargaining coalition that was like, had been assembled from the rank and file level, like literally
mm,
besides the Grocery Workers Rising Coalition, which are the five
yeah,
locals in SoCal that were bargaining together, this idea that like us, you, the 648, the little three-way bargaining that we had here, plus Grocery Workers Rising, plus 3,000, plus seven, that we were one big blob of workers that were like all ready to fight as one. That was a position and a platform that was being pushed by us, the rank and file, that had connected, made all of these connections through this work that we've been doing to try to get working people to wake up and pay attention to what's going on, specifically to the power that they have available at their fingertips if they could just get connected. That did not get supported accurately by the leadership
No,
across the
and you know what?
entire
It's crazy
Western
you say
region.
that. It's crazy you say that because I happened to be going through, like, I was kind of just, when I was about the time I was trying to find the reform movement, I found all these Facebook posts from the official UFCW 7 and from the other UFCWs. And every time they said, like, oh, strike vote's been filed, people were saying, all right, let's all go together. Why aren't we all going together? Why aren't we going together? I want to go together. I'm ready to strike. For 7, it was the same thing. They're saying, like, oh, we're going on strike. Well, why isn't Safeway and King Supers already on strike? We need to go together. We need to go together. Why isn't the West Coast on strike? I want to strike in solidarity with you. And you just scroll down, everybody's saying the same thing. 80 likes. I mean, this is their own community yelling
Hmm.
at them,
Hmm.
basically. And this is just a fraction of their community yelling at them, saying, what are you doing? Because it's obvious to anyone on the ground. Even the people in my own store were saying, why don't we go on strike with 7? They know what's good. They know that they can win. We just have to go together. It's the same company. But somehow, and really, it's not a mystery, all the local presidents are just sitting on their hands. And they offer that wimpy, what do they do? The solidarity strike protest for like 2 days, and they even gave up on that.
Bro, at least you got an event. Like we wouldn't, dude, you won't even believe this, but at our general membership meeting, so you guys had shout out to Local 5. I hope nobody like busts me on this, but like I'm registered for your meetings. Like I go to your guys' monthly meetings on Zoom. I got in, they haven't kicked me out. I'm chilling there. I love it because you guys have monthly meetings that your president hosts. We have
Yeah,
quarterly meetings that we have to go to in Sacramento. Our local president hasn't been to one. We've been to three. He hasn't been there any time. So he doesn't participate in the union. So when I saw that you guys were gearing up for a fight, like not this was way before your guys' rally, right? This
yeah,
was when
yeah,
our
yeah.
contract was getting ready to expire. I actually
Right.
I sent a message in chat in one of your meetings saying, "Hey, I'm from Local 8. Why don't we do some practice pickets across the street from the stores and let these companies know that we're gearing up to strike as we approach our contract expiring." So this was before April 12th, right?
Yeah.
Your guy did not read my message, and I got the message silently back that was, if you want to stay in here, keep your mouth shut. So I have not engaged in chat since. But we had a general membership meeting following that, and we went. There was so every time we've gone to a general membership meeting, and this is why I shake my finger at you, UFCW Local 8 members. You guys have a lot of strong opinions about your union, how you want to make it better, where you think it's failing you, but you do not go to your general membership meetings. That's that's what's missing from our unions really is member participation. Because the thing is, when you do participate, when you look at what's going on, you see that it's a problem, which is why they make it very difficult for you to do that. So I know that you're not going to the meetings. I know you don't know this, but I said, hey, we've got this contract expiration going. We should do practice pickets. Are we going to do any escalating actions? I know you said wear your buttons, but we should do like, we should show them like, hey, we're ready to fight. Nothing, dude. You guys actually did hold a 2-day rally, which I was very jealous of. I almost like drove there. It was too far, but I wanted to go be a part of that, right? That would have been badass. That does send a message. There is, and there's another reason for it too. There's a thing called a structure test, and when you're trying to build a strong union and a strong membership, they have to take actions that build up in intensity in order to be able to sustain the ultimate action, which is a strike. You can't take a person to from I've never signed a petition to I'm
I don't even know
walking
what
out of
the
work.
is.
So
Yeah.
you've got to do these things that like work us practice picketing is so important because nobody has any idea what's going on in a nobody's protesting, nobody's
We haven't gone
picketing.
on strike in 30 years at my store. I mean, no one knows how to strike. And that's part of the thing. When the union threw it at us, like, oh, we have a strike vote. All right. We didn't get any backup. Nobody came to teach us anything. They posted up a sign. That was it. No practice picket. And I was kind of losing my mind because I had to convince people. I was trying to convince people. I was trying to get people to say, like, vote no, let's go on strike. And they were like, I don't even know if I can go on strike. Is there strike pay? People were just making up numbers. The union didn't tell us our own strike pay. It blew my mind. Like in your case, I know the union kind of did it to sway you in the first place, but My God, they did not tell us anything. No resources, no nothing. It was hard to convince people because I didn't have backup, man.
Yeah, when we got very close to the end, they dropped a text. They sent out a message that was basically like, "You're gonna get fucking flush in cash, dude." Sorry for my curse. You're making money. Like it was like if you're a strike, it was so funny because in the Discord, like it came out and it was like, "Hey, if you're a strike captain, you're getting $300 a day. If you're a food clerk or a head clerk, you're getting a head clerk, food clerk, $200 a day." $125 for CC. So everybody's like, "Oh, dude, dang, dude, that's more than I make. That's great, right?" All of a sudden in the Discord, there was like 12 people that were like, I want to be a strike captain. How do I be a strike captain?" You know? Like, oh, first of all, you care before today.
Yeah, they
And
were
then
really
also, and then, but not as much as I do, or you don't get to participate at all. Get your
you've been
hand
demoted.
slapped. But yeah, you're right. From the membership's perspective, we were all ready to rock and roll. And the leadership, I will say this with the exception of Local 7, and it's funny because you talked about everybody online like saying like let's do this, let's do this, let's do more. That was even true for Local 7. And Local 7 has this unique situation where they are hyper democratic. Their membership is fully involved up and down, which is why they always strike because when we're feeling that way, so are they, but they're in positions to actually make it happen. Kim Cordova, shout out to her as president, is doing a really great job. But even those members are, because they have that freedom, there's this next layer of militancy where they're ready to include the competitor store, bring in King Supers and give us even more bargaining power, right? And that's where
Yeah,
we're all trying to move as reformers in the UFCW. And why it's called reform is because what you just witnessed was all these things that when you hear Paul talk about it sound obvious, sound true, sound like no duh. Like we're grocery workers, we're idiots that work in a grocery store putting cans of beans on shelves, and we can intuit that all of us coordinating and working together in the ability to leverage against our company, it was beneficial to us as the workers. What that tells you is that leadership is intentionally not utilizing that leverage. Local 7 needed us all to follow suit. They rolled that thing into the 4th of July. We all settled for the same shitty contracts across this entire Western region. It is going to do nothing to improve our lives, our living conditions, or our working conditions. If you think your staffing committee is going to make a positive impact on your store, your safety committee is signed off on by your manager and nobody's even at the meetings,
yeah,
okay? Like
exactly.
newsflash, dude, these things don't happen, okay? So this idea that a dollar and some change is going to improve your life in a year on a yearly basis, when like we just shared in the Discord server that the average person in this country has to make $114,000 a year to own a home. Uh,
Yeah,
that's when workers come out and they say, and I know there's working people that are going to hear this and it's going to resonate with them, that they would need like $10 an hour an increase to be able to survive comfortably. That's not a joke. I still tell people how much money we make, $28 for me and some change topped out right now. I tell people that and they're like, "Really? McDonald's pays 20." Like
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
that's and they still have this idea that there's this middle class working, like the grocery store is a good example, that this is still this middle class like service job world, and that's not the case. I mean, my daughter is a key carrier for Starbucks, so she's like a shift supervisor. She's finishing up college. College has been fully paid for by Starbucks at Arizona State, and she makes more money than I do. And she's been there for the course of time that she goes to college. She makes more money per hour than I do on top of tips. That's insane. That is,
It's completely unsustainable, almost even for the company. They just have to prey off desperate people, basically. They're only having their hopes in the labor market being bad enough that the people will just take anything. And like that's where they're at today. That's just the reality. And the idea that like, when people accept the contract and they vote yes, they know this. They just feel defeated or they trust the union and they're played one way or the other. And
there is, in our situation, there was a heavy influencing by reps
yep,
in the direction of like using fear. It really blew my mind how important the strike was as a weapon before the tentative agreement, and then how quickly that weapon was turned against the membership
drop.
on the other side. It was actually used against us. Like with
Yeah,
the strike was something we were going to be compelled to do, and then in the course of a weekend, it became the potential doom of our existence. So I that when we say like workers are waking up is like we all need to take a minute. Like I know you want to just move on with your life and relax, but just like debrief. Talk to your coworkers about what it felt like going through that process. Talk to the people in your store about how they feel this is going to impact their lives. I do agree with you that a lot of people that I didn't meet one person that was enthusiastic about the contract. The people that voted yes out of fear of what would happen if they voted no,
yeah.
and that's it.
I mean that was exactly my experience. I mean, either they were fearful or they're about to retire and they're just apathetic because they knew the union was bad, but they just didn't see a point in resisting. They thought it's futile, you can't change. And that's the other reason this is so important. So if we know that other locals like UFCW 700, if we know that there are people who fight back and there's people who win, and we know about how Kim Cordova runs her local, and we know it's not just as bad over there, it's actually a hell of a lot better. We can break that apathy and we can break those illusions and that sort of selfish mindset, internal mindset that there's no one else, no one's gonna help me, no other locals care about us, they're all busy with their own stuff. And it's just not true. It's not true. We're all in the same boat together. And we know from looking at the contracts, thanks to this, I mean, that's what it's about. We got to know, we got to have knowledge, and we got to have connections. That's how we get together. We make master agreements, and we take
Yeah.
back the union from the bums who are just sitting there on their hands, and just milking us for what they can.
It is. It's a slow managed decline, right? And you're right. They're slow milking it. And if you don't think that, like what you just said, if you don't think that we need to start working together across locals, like we're talking about grocery right now, but let's just take this to the next level. Teamsters, longshoremen, like we were talking about, getting these industries that really have the power to shut down, pilots, all transportation. The working people are kind of backs against the wall, breaking point situation. We talk about housing, we talk about food prices. The future does not look very bright if we continue on this path. And that's not the trade-off is like, it's you society tells you like, oh, you need to do better, you need to do more, you need to work harder, you need to be smarter, you need to get yourself up out of that situation and become an XYZ. But the reality is that you need all of those people. You need the truck drivers. You need the longshoremen. You can't. When I hear like McDonald's is a high school job and that's meant for kids, my response to that is then you need to stop fucking eating Egg McMuffins, bro, because those kids are in school during breakfast. So
Yeah,
nobody wants to mow your lawn. But you want to be a badass and pay someone to do it. So you need to pay them a good amount of money so that they can survive mowing lawns, or else what are we doing as a society, right? And we're talking, that's just, this is a multi-billion dollar companies, and they are
yeah.
all working together. All these contracts are the same. Little
They're all
dial
on the
turn
same
here,
page.
little dial turn there.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me, I get this, and oh, look, my healthcare is this, but they're fucking, nobody's life is getting better, like anywhere. And even in seven, bro, because they have the will to fight, but they can't
But we don't
outlast
have
these
we don't have the will to
billions,
back them
dude.
up yet.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude, we do. They need our support, and they do it time and time again. They're like, "We're out, we're going, boom, we're out, we're going." If 3,000 is another one that's like they always say they're ready to fight, but then everyone's just trigger shy. There's a lot of activism out there, a lot of like locals that have more participation than yours and ours. Like, dude, the saddest thing, 475 people on my roster, 80 people voted. Like that's who turned out on voting day. It was on a Sunday. That's who turned out on voting day to determine the lives of 15,000 people out of my region.
The next 3 years
Dude,
or 4 years.
so this idea that like, hey, I see you in seven. Indiana local 770 right now or 700. You just mentioned them. They turned down two contracts. This third contract just ratified, but I was on their call last night. They're like, guess what? We don't care. That was the preseason game anyway. Like they're all talking about how they're moving into the national championships because what you also mentioned, and we should like, talk about this more, is that the reform movement and this idea that the workers are going to improve their unions leads to a restructuring in leadership. Workers waking up involves workers getting educated about things like their local elections. And that's the same thing that's going on with us here in Local 8. We just rolled through that contract season. We've seen everything that our current leadership has to offer. Their resume is the last 30 years. So now we're looking for new leaders. We're looking for people who agree with all the things we've been talking about and want to take Local 8 in that direction. These guys had their chance. I think it's time for them to listen. If they want to step, I've said it a million times. If you want to step up and do it, like more power to you. Like, please do. It would help us all. We're literally begging, dude. Like, it's
Yeah. But it's just like you experienced in my local, unfortunately. You see, you start saying things, they're not willing to debate you. They say, shut up or get out. And that's not how you work. That's not how a union works. A union is a group of people, right? It's not one kingpin we all elect to
mm-mm,
just lord over us like another boss.
mm-mm.
It's supposed to be a movement of the people to protect themselves. It's our self-defense organization. If your leader, if your general is saying, I don't give a shit what you think, pipe down, that's not your general. He's operating on his own plans.
And that's not a union. You're right. Like that, it is dependent on like, and my rep will say all the time, like we used to have meetings, but nobody came. And what I say now is like we can sit here and argue about the chicken and the egg. Like I actually don't care who stopped participating first, but you use that to your advantage to gain a large amount of control over the operation, and over time have done exactly what is happening to the people in the country, which is you become so unaware of what's going on outside of your bubble, and a lot of it has to do with the stress of just surviving being placed on you. Like
Yeah.
we talk a lot about people. What do you feel about Palestine? What do you feel about Israel? And one of the things I like to respond, first of all, genocide's bad, but second of all, when you are trying to figure out your bills, it's really hard to take that like next level step away and worry about these like more grander ideas about like whether or not you're being manipulated by your union. So this
Yeah.
all works in the favor of this ruling class of these people, like these kingpins at top, is that they don't want you at the meetings. They don't want you to, like you said, they don't want to hear your idea. They don't want to debate you on the floor and have a vote occur because there's a quorum and have the direction of the union changed based on the will of the membership. Which all of those things are like what we're talking about are like foundational rights that we're giving away. Like we're literally in a fight for the NLRB's constitutionality right now.
And that's the thing. They'll bank on all that because their plan is just to do as little as possible. They look at the NLRB and they're like, that's a meal ticket because now I don't have to do a strike. I don't have to think about anything. I can just sit here, kick back. We don't need any more members. Forget it. We already got 1 million. That's enough to get, 100,000 bucks, every month straight into our accounts. We don't need to do anything. We got to settle. And that's what they've settled in. They've settled in. They've ossified. They've become solid, and they're just planning on coasting until somebody forces them to. Like, we have all these rights, but if you don't use your rights, then they're not your rights anymore. They're not your rights until you take them back because they don't want you to use them. They'll try and stop you from using them until they know there's enough people fighting against them that they have to
Hmm.
respect you. They have to debate you. They have to listen to you. And they have to go out and meet you instead of you meeting them. It's the same thing as the company. The reason we fail so bad is because the company doesn't feel like the union's ever going to fight them. So they just say the union needs to meet us here. And unfortunately, the lapdogs that most of them are, they just walk over to the company and roll over. And
100%.
that's how we get the $1, less than $1 raise,
It's
90-cent
rough,
raise.
dude. Ugh. It,
Ugh.
that's not, you can't, it, nobody's living off of that. And I don't like it. I don't like it when they say like, well, yeah, but you would have had to lose healthcare. It's like, why? No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have.
Unless you failed so bad, you lost me, right?
But
Yeah,
you're
that would have been
you're
on
the
you.
one saying that you're willing to that you are again when you say collaborating with the company,
Yeah,
that's collaborating with the company, which is saying I'm not going to ask for something without also taking something away. That's
yeah,
not you, where's progress being made for the worker? You're that again, very like clearly stating to any person listening to the words that your intention is to maintain the status quo. Like that is not what I'm looking for in my union leadership. But in
nope,
working people, this idea that like there are even in the worst unions, even in no unions, because of the NLRA and even before the NLRA, and in all honesty, with no laws like go back in time with no laws protecting working people, they still have the ultimate leverage in withholding their labor. Like that, people got killed not working in order to have those working conditions improved. And the result of that was improved working conditions and the workers returning to work. But people died. Like we're
Yeah.
talking about going on strike with strike pay.
They didn't have strike pay. They just trusted each other, you
They
know?
had
They
Tommy
said,
guns. They had
yep,
hand grenades thrown in their
yeah.
tents, dude.
They were like, it was a fight for them. That wasn't metaphorical. It was a class war. That wasn't a metaphorical war.
It was
That was
literally a class
people
war.
would come with guns to
And
go
so
fight you.
those gains have given us a few levers, like within our own union too. So for union members listening that don't think they have a voice for power in their union, you have at least three. You have the ability to authorize a strike with your vote. You have the ability to ratify your contract with a vote, and you have the ability to vote out your leadership in an election. And every union has to have those things occurring. So in the very, very minimum, if you participate, you can make change in those places. So I will say though that for anybody listening, for anybody thinking that they would like to get involved, I absolutely highly encourage it. There's a lot of organizations out there in the Teamsters. You want to hit up TDU, Teamsters for a Democratic Union. If you're in the UFCW, it's the Essential Workers for Democracy. The Auto Workers Union used to have UAWD, Unite All Workers Democratically, but that recently dissolved because of something that happened with the leadership. I have no idea. But there's some new caucuses coming out of that, I'm sure. But there are reformers like out there in all kinds of unions. Politically, there's the DSA. They're looking to connect more broadly with the working class. So look into any of those organizations, and if any of them feel like they align with what you've got going on, absolutely hit them up. The Essential Workers for Democracy for us specifically in the UFCW are the people that have given working members of the UFCW access to the most information, linking up with
They
labor
have a
notes.
lot of good stuff. Yeah. I mean, they just have it. It's unfortunate there's not like millions of views, but they have so much information there. It is really like a gold mine for anybody that's just getting started.
I mean, if you think about 80 people out of 475 voting on their contract, then you can scale that down to how many people give a shit about, running a good meeting, or the essentials of organizing, or like what we talked about, those escalating actions. But there are people out there like this is look at this conversation that we're having right now, brother. We didn't know each other 4 days ago, and
No,
we've had a lot of conversations since. I think that you're interested in continuing to build a movement in Local 5 that aligns with these ideas of member democracy, open bargaining, strike readiness, transparency in the union, member power, and that's it, right? We're
I mean,
spreading.
it's at the end of the day, it's the same conditions in every Safeway. You said it, right? With the contract, with the union, with everything. It's pretty similar. It's pretty much the same. What we're getting nailed on, what we're getting screwed by. It's the unions that aren't fighting enough. We're not together enough. We're not united enough. And people just at the bottom feel hopeless. They feel apathetic. They think nobody cares. Nothing's worth it. And so when you create something like at what cost, and you create a space for people, a union hall, which used to exist physically, but if we don't have that anymore, we can still get together. That doesn't mean we can't hang out. We can't bring people in. We can't show them the information we do know, share information, share grievances, and act on them. Because at the end of the day, if it's not us doing it and the union's not doing it, no one's going to do it. It's
We're
up
getting
to us.
rolled.
Yeah, we're getting rolled.
And I think
So
when we talk about building towards like a general strike, like this is the ground, like we people will look back on the 2028 general strike. They will see the seeds that got planted as a result of that being called, and workers really starting to pay attention. I mean, the thing that got me paying attention to unionism after I stepped down from management was the Teamsters contract for UPS. As soon as that got ratified, I was like, wait a minute, like something's not right. Like
and
we should be hitting gains like that, dude.
yeah,
And it's a slippery slope from like seeing other working people getting paid and taking power and taking action, and really like self-actualizing like what it means to be a part of the working class and the leverage that you have in a society where you are the 99%. Like all value created in this country is created by you, the worker. Once you realize that and you start connecting to other people that agree with that mindset, it Very quickly can your mind move to a power that is literally unstoppable.
It really is. It's a snowball because once that ball gets rolling, we have a negative knock-on effects right now because so much of the market's private. That's part of the reason the unions are so weak. But it's the exact opposite effect. If workers start agitating in our union and we get wins, that's going to mean Target, Walmart, Home Depot, they're all looking at us and saying, hey, all they had to do was like, organize, threaten a strike or two, maybe do one, and all of a sudden they got $5. Why can't we do that? Because the Teamsters, the problem with some of those is they're a little too craft, sometimes for people to relate. But if we get like basically an industrial union getting wins, that means every other industrial worker, which is most of us, are starting to their ears will perk up. They'll say,
Hmm.
hey, what happened? How did they get that? And they're gonna know
Yeah.
it wasn't because they went to college. It wasn't because they got a degree. They didn't go to technical school. They just stood together. Fuck. And that's the secret. I mean, that's really the secret sauce to any victory for working people is you gotta fight for it. Unfortunately, that's just the world we live in. But we gotta work because the capitalists, the business owners, they have great solidarity. They're always working together. They're always looking
Always.
out for each other.
Yeah,
The
they're on the
contract is
same
made for
yachts,
all
dude.
of
They're at
you.
the same parties, bro. They're at the
Yeah.
when we're dying to make sure they can get food on their plates, dude. They're at the same fucking parties without us, dude. Every time, like and then pretty soon they're gonna be in the same spaceship, just floating
Yeah.
above us, like dropping their feces on us. Like, remember when we used to live on Earth, like har har har. Dude, we can't let them get out of reach. We got to make sure we get our piece of the pie before they get too far away. And I agree
Yeah.
with you 100% on working people continuing to connect. Right now we're working on UFCW. We're here in Local 8. You're over there in Local 5. Now we're connected at an even broader level. You've seen people on this show from like longshoremen to Canadian
Yeah.
engineers. There's
Yeah.
people all over the place that are paying attention to what's going on. I truly feel and believe like that workers are waking up. What always happens on the other side of something that feels like a negative, like this really salty contract season, is this huge, huge positive. Getting to connect with you, getting to the feeling of something bigger, like starting to snowball for all of us. You're 1,000% right. That momentum is inspiring to other people that get to see it. And I will throw it out to everybody out there. The movement is waiting for leaders. It's waiting for speakers. It's waiting for people to stand up in their store and start saying that we deserve better. And let's figure out how to get it. The idea that anybody has all the answers is slim. There's a lot of resources out there. We're not looking for a new savior. We talk about this all the time too. There's no union Moses. This doesn't come from like even Sean O'Brien or Sean Fain, these like celebrities of unions. Even their power comes from their membership. The only reason they feel the longshoreman president of the longshoreman union, which everybody thought was a real dick when he was like out there starting fights, I was like, one thing I said about that guy was like, who I don't hear complaining about him? The longshoreman.
Longshoreman. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, yo, give this guy $1 million. Like he's like standing in front of these bullets like a fucking body vest, dude. It was sick. And so I get like that. Like we as a society have kind of gotten into the like we're in our Mr. Beast era where we want to just like elevate individuals to this like almost godhood. But I would challenge you guys out there, especially the bootlickers that are trying to become gods themselves. There is way more power in your union. There is way more power to be unlocked collectively if we can all work together. And if you ever think you've had a good idea, you should see what happens when you throw that into a group of people that are trying to make positive change. It's how it becomes a great idea. And that's what we need to keep thinking about is that collectivism, us working together, cooperation. I like to joke that I grew up playing like Halo 3 and I never got really good at it, but like I'm done with competitive. Like I'm done, like I'm getting older now and I don't have the like hand-eye coordination to fight everybody and win. And because of that, I would like to cooperate now. Let's all
Yeah.
work together.
I mean, this is true. The weaker you are, I mean, and we're all weak individually. Let's be real. Nobody's going to stand up alone in front of the boss and say, no, I'm not working. What happens when you do that alone? Nothing. It's not you get fired.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's the thing. It takes one person to take the first step, and it takes just another person to stand up behind them. Three more people stand up, and suddenly the whole block will stand up behind you. Because if you all have the same problems and you all know you have the same problems and you're talking to each other, all of a sudden every action is a collective action as long as everyone's on the same page. It's not no, I'm not gonna go do extra work for, no extra pay. I'm not gonna accept this speed up.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna let my union just say it's whatever. If you all stand up, all of a sudden the union has to pay attention, your boss has to pay attention, everyone has to work around you because you all are the real power. And they know that. As long as you don't believe their illusions, you don't believe what they tell you, you don't believe when they say, we can't make salary anymore. The hell you can. You're making billions of dollars in profit. I know you have that. And as long as we can force the union to fight for us and fight for what we actually want, the world is ours. The world, it's a worker's world.
Hmm.
We just been lied to. We just been tricked into thinking that we need bosses. We need business. We don't need them. They
No.
need us.
Yep.
It's the other way around. And we got to wake up to that. And we got to help each other, help our fellow workers so we can actually act on that and have power ourselves.
Preach, preach. I like to, everyone's like, yeah, we're about to be replaced by robots. There's no point in fighting. My response to that is that until your robot can run 8 hours on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like I still got a beat, dude. I don't care what it can do. My like energy input to output ratio is still very, very positive.
Dude, I know that's that classic the capitalist
It's
propaganda that has been since
always
the
been that, dude.
1850s.
It's always been that. And they're like, dude, I don't even care, bro. Bring my 9 robots into my store. Like, now you're gonna teach me how to clean the robot, dude. Like,
Yeah,
there will
exactly.
always be work that needs to be done, and there will always be people making more money than willing to do that aren't willing to do that work. So what, and this isn't a, like, there's various levels of extreme here. This isn't like an eat the rich thing. This is a, we want our fair share and we deserve our fair share. No worker is trying to all, and nobody thinks that everybody gets a yacht. That isn't what's going on. One guy doesn't need 30 yachts, and all these massive corporations, like we were talking about it in the break room today, and we'll wrap this thing up. It's been a hot 30. We were talking about it in the break room today, but it wasn't that long ago when there were like hella different grocery stores, and they were all sending you ads in the mail, and they were all offering you free cookies and balloons and all kinds of crazy shit because they were competing with each other. But what has happened across many, many industries is they've all merged and consolidated into these massive companies. And then when we went through COVID, they pulled the rug out on everybody and they flipped the script. And instead of the consumer having control and controlling demand with their dollar, the market started telling consumers what the new conditions were going to be. And we just sat here and ate it over and over. And now we don't even feel like we get to decide as consumers, as people in this society, what the conditions of the market are going to be. Amazon says we're doing this, we're doing it. Walmart says we're doing this, we're doing it. SpaceX or Elon Musk says this is the future, it's the future. Like, what happened to us as a people? We need to keep waking up, we need to keep activating. I firmly believe that our unions and the labor movement is the place that it's going to happen first. And once people see the workers waking up, they will have our backs. Like they will support. And I do see that all the time is that for whatever reason, everyone's scared. They want the union person to die first. But once the union person puts himself out there and starts taking the knives in the back, everyone else is like, hurrah, hurrah.
No, I mean, really, it just comes down to we're in the right position. We already know how collective action works. And so we got to be the forefront. We got to be the front of that movement to try and push people forward. And if we just wait around for our leaders to do it, they're asleep. They're asleep at the wheel. They're not going to do it. It's up to us at the bottom who know how it's supposed to work, who know how it could work. And we got to start showing people what's up. And that's how we get the general strike. We got to lead the way. It's not going to happen for free. Nobody's going to take the first step if you aren't taking it when you're in the best position to, right? We got
Hmm.
to start moving and we got to start organizing ourselves and then organizing, ultimately, I mean, our union should be organizing other people. We got a million-person union. We're the third biggest in the
Yeah,
state.
huge, huge.
We got to start moving because I mean, we're kind of at the front of it. We should be the leaders. So let's do it.
Yeah, when my union tells me like, "Oh, we fought for your health care," I'm like, "Not hard enough. It ain't free. You have 1.3 million members. How have we not teamed up with every other union to push universal health care? Every human being in this country wants it." And you know what? You said it. These union leaders, they're asleep. They're straight. They've gained their wealth has pushed them so far beyond our existence that they're too comfortable in their positions, and they now have too much to lose. Like their lifestyles have expanded to fill this new reality that they've created for themselves, this six-figure reality and beyond. And that's every person who has money becomes a capitalist. Every person who gets the power wants to keep the power. That's why we have to keep diluting it as much as possible and making sure that we as workers don't give up too much of it because it's power corrupting absolutely. It's not, no person is saying that they're above any of these human faults. That's why this collective solidarity needs to be the most important thing we recognize culturally because it will protect us from ever making these
Yeah.
decisions that only benefit us as individuals. So I'm
And it's
glad
the
to
fact that
connect.
they lost that. They lost
Yeah,
that. And when they lose that, they're just gonna act in their own self-interest, and their self-interest to keep pushing you just like the company, man. They're just gonna try to keep pushing us till we push back. It's up to us.
I think we got it. I think we got it. I think this was a great conversation, man. Thank you for your time. I'm really glad to have you on board with that. What cost? This is an open invitation to everybody else that would like to join. All the links are in the description. Hit us up. This movement is happening, and you're all invited to the party. I look forward to everything that we build together in the future, and I look forward to getting to meet all of your coworkers and all the people in your neighboring stores and seeing what gets built out of like all these ideas that you have because your mind is in the right spot, man. Like you are thinking about this in a way that inspires me, and I would follow you into any fight. If you said jump, you could do it with your eyes closed, bro. I would be right there next to you. We would both be jumping, and that is what this is all about.
Could not agree more, man. Same goes for you. We're all in it together. If you're from any, I don't care what local you're from. If you're seeing this, this is your sign. Make your own local hall, make your own server, get out there and start telling people, make your own QR codes. We've got to build it. It's not going to build itself.
No,
You
it
made it
will
this
not.
far. You're in the top 1%. You got to start moving. You got to be the one to start it.
Boom, that's perfect. We'll close it there. Shout out to everybody who's made it this far into the episode. I think it was a good one. This is Worker to Worker, episode 13. I think we're waking up. I'm awake now. You got me pumped.
I know. I you passed this long.
I'll talk to you soon, bro. Thank you so much. We're out of here. Peace.